Hey guys, this is Miss Smith tonight. We're going to be talking about WGU proportions. Okay, let me find my pen. Here we go. A WGU proportion is another way to set up equivalent. And we remember what equivalent means, right? It means equal. So a proportion is another way to set up equivalent fractions, which we've already talked about, so we should already know this, or ratios. Ratios are just comparing two numbers, so kind of like fractions. All right, when we are using WGU, we are comparing two things in a word problem. Remember when we did right before Thanksgiving, we set up proportions, correct? And I gave you the fraction or the ratio, and we compared those two, and we solved for proportions, right? Well, this time we're comparing two things from a word problem. So word problems kind of can be sometimes a little bit confusing. So that's why we're going to be setting up a chart to help us figure out how to set up our proportion, and then you'll know how to solve from there because we have already learned how to solve them. Okay, so WG stands for words, okay, words, given, and the unknown. Now, what did we talk about in math when we don't know what something is yet? Okay, we talk about a variable, right? So a variable is a letter in math because it's unknown yet. So if you can go ahead and take a guess, what do you think is going to be in this column? Okay, so words, given, and unknown. Okay, a WGU chart is an easy way to set up a proportion from a word problem. Like I said, you'll know how to set up you'll know how to work out the proportion, but the hardest part is setting up from a word problem. Okay, the words column, the words column is the two things or words you are comparing in the problem. Okay, could be feet to yards, or pounds to ounces, or well, we'll do some examples in a second. Okay, the given column, given means they give it to you. So the given column is usually the ratio, okay? It's usually the ratio the word problem gives in the first sentence. Okay, keyword is give. They give it to you. So you have both numbers. Okay, this column's fraction will contain all numbers, no variables. Okay, because all the variables will be in the unknown because we don't know what it is yet. Okay, the unknown column is usually what the word problem is asking for. So if the question asks, how many pounds? Well, we're talking about pounds. If the question asks, what's the cost? Then we're talking about money, right? So this column contains the variable. Okay, this column contains the variable. And I know all this is confusing, but once we do it and you look back at your notes, hopefully it will make a lot more sense. Okay, hint. We're talking about the unknown column. Hint. That is why the unknown, that's why it's called the unknown, because we do not know a part of the ratio or fraction yet. Oops, or fraction. Okay, guys, like I said, I know this you're probably like, what? But we'll do some examples, and then you can come back and read this again, and then it'll make a little bit more sense. Okay, now let's practice WGU. All right, we're going to fill in our word problem. Okay, in art class, we are mixing paint. The ratio of red is 2 to 8. Oops, 2 to 8. Okay, now when we look at this, we're talking about a ratio. It's just comparing two numbers. Okay, blue is first, and then we put red, right? Well, when you read a ratio, see how you read blue to red? So 2 is going to be associated with the blue, and red is going to be associated with 8 because of the order of the words. Okay, so blue to red, and that's 8. So if you what I would probably do always when you have these types of problems, where it's not right next to the word, I would write blue is going to be 2 because of the order, and red is going to be 8. Okay, Now we're done with that. Okay. How many ounces of blue paint will be needed if we have 12 ounces of red paint? Okay. So what two things are we comparing here? Okay. We're comparing blue and red. Now, with the words column, okay, with the words column, I'm going to put the two words I'm comparing. Well, I'm comparing blue to red. Could you put red to blue here? Sure. Okay, I'm putting blue on top. It does not matter. You could put either one. So I'm doing blue to red. That's the two things I'm comparing. Okay, over here, the ratio is kind of confusing. That's why we wrote it over here this time. Okay, 2 is associated with blue because blue came first. Okay, so 2, the given, what they give you is the ratio, is 2 to red. So they give you these two numbers associated with the two things we're comparing. So blue would be 2 to red would be 8. Okay? So 2 to 8. All right, now the unknown, what's the question asking? That's what we're trying to find. So how many ounces of blue paint? Okay, the question's asking about blue. So where do you think our unknown is going to be? Or where do you think our variable, which is the unknown? Okay, it's going to be with blue because that's what the question's asking for. Okay, what does the second part give us though? It gives us 12. So we know 12 will go right here. Okay, so does everybody see how I set it up? The two words I see they're comparing is blue and red. They gave me 2 with blue and 8 with red, so that's what they give me. So the given is what the question gives me. Okay, the unknown is where my variable is going to be, or another way to say it is, what is the question asking? Okay, here we go. So to solve for our variable, to solve for our unknown, we got to figure out what x equals, and you know how to do that by now. Okay, so to solve for our variable, we are going to set up a formula. What are the other words Ms. Smith used in class? Formula, expression, or equation. They all mean the same thing. So, but we're going to talk just about formulas right now. So we're going to set a formula by, what do we do when we solve for equations? It's called cross multiplying. Okay, all this is review. We've done this right before Thanksgiving. So, oh my goodness. Hello. Sorry. We've done all this before Thanksgiving, so you should know how to do this. Okay, so by cross multiplying. After we set up our formula, divide, you know how to do this. Go with me here. Divide both sides by our coefficient. Okay? So we divide both sides by our coefficient to isolate our variable. Okay, to find our answer. So we want to isolate the variable to find our answer. And guys, you know how to do this because we did this right before Thanksgiving. So all you're doing, this is the hardest part, is setting up your proportion here. So 2/8 equals x over 12. And now you know how to do it by cross multiplying. Okay, now I went ahead and set up this for us. So 2/8 equals x over 12. So our proportion, we're going to be setting stuff up in a chart. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and practice this on here. Okay, so we have 2/8 equals x over 12 because that's how I set up my proportion right here. Okay, so my formula is going to be, okay, of course we do our little butterfly things or highlight, right? Okay, so my formula would be 8 times x, because we've already done this, you know how to do this, and then 2 times 12 on this side equals 24. So 2 times 12, that's how I got 24 on this side. Okay, now, the work we got to do is, of course, rewrite 8x equals 24, and then we divide by our coefficient, right? And then make this 1, so that's marked out. Whatever we do to this side, we got to do this side. Okay, so now what's 24 divided by 8? If you get a weird number, guys, remember, top dog in the house, and you can divide. But this one's kind of easy because we know 24 divided by 8 would be what? Okay, very good. It would be 3. So in this case, I have 3 ounces. From the word problem, I found out I have 3 ounces of blue paint. Okay, do you see how when we have easy problems like this, of course, it's hard to, when we have easy problems like this, it's hard to, or it's easy to find our answer, but see how the word problem, it can be confusing. That's why we always set up a words given unknown proportion to help us get to the easy part, because you know how to solve these now. Okay. All right, 2 more. Bear with me. Okay, now, Amy can read 3 pages of Twilight in 2.5 minutes. Okay, Here we go. Amy can read 3 pages of Twilight in 2.5 minutes. At this rate, how long will it take her to read 15 pages of the book? Okay, let's see what the words we're comparing. Remember, we're looking at the ratio in the first sentence. That's going to be what our given is. And also, you can find out what 2 things we're comparing. Okay, we wrote down the 2 things we're comparing. We're comparing how many pages you can read in how many minutes. Okay, so it doesn't not matter which one you put on top or bottom, but I'm going to put pages on top and then minutes. So those are the 2 things we're comparing. Okay, words are the pages and minutes. Okay, here we go. So what did they give me? Well, in the first ratio, they gave me 3 pages for every 2.5 minutes. Now, I am a decimal person. You know this. If you want to write it with your fraction, but I would probably write it as a decimal because we can multiply a little bit easier. So when we do a cross multiplication. So what does 2.5 change to as a decimal? Very good. I knew y'all knew that. 2 5/10. Very good. Okay, now, what is the question asking? How long? So which one do you think how long would be with? Well, when I ask how long did it take you to do your homework? Well, of course, I'd probably go with minutes. So my unknown here is going to be right here with minutes. Okay, how long? Then 15 would be on top. Very good. So how long will it take her to read 15 pages of the book? So they give me pages. So that's why pages goes right here in the column of pages. Okay. Now we know how to do it. What do we do first? We set up our proportion. Okay? Proportion is what I set up first. 2 equivalent fractions. So my fraction here is 3 over 2 5/10 equals 15 over x. Okay? Now I cross multiply. Okay? So of course I want to put my coefficient of my variable first. So 3 times x goes over here equals 15 times 2.5. Okay? Now, in this case, that's not an easy multiplication problem. So I want you to go ahead and multiply 15 times 2.5 right here. And then pause me, and then we'll both get the answer right now. So go ahead and pause me. Okay, welcome back. All right, did everybody get 37 5/10? Okay, 37 5/10. Okay, here's my formula, equation, or expression right here. Okay. Now let's work it out. So we have 3x equals 37 5/10. Now, what do we got to do? We have to divide by the coefficient right here to isolate my variable. So we divide by 3, cross it out because that equals 1. Whatever I do to this side, I have to do to this side. Okay, so 37 5/10 divided by 3. Okay, now this isn't as easy as the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here and do my work. So top dog in the house, divided by 3, bring up your decimal and forget about it. Okay, bring up your decimal and forget about it. So how many times does 3 go into 3? 1 time. Okay, minus 3 gets 0. Bring down your 7 so I can put something right here. So how many times does 3 go into 7? Very good, twice. Okay, 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down the 5. How many times does 3 go into 15? Very good, 5 times. So what's my answer? Okay, x, which is my variable, x equals 12 5/10 or 12 and what? 1/2. So 12 5/10 or 12 and 1/2 minutes. That's how many minutes it took her to read 15 pages. Okay, so here's my answer. Okay, that's how long it took her to do that. Now, see how easy it is once you know how to set this up? These problems are pretty easy if you know how to set up the proportion. And then solving it, you should know how to do because that's what we're doing down here. Okay, one more and then we're done, guys. Bear with me. Okay, a 12-pound bag of oranges cost $6 at Walmart. Okay? Cost me $6 at Walmart. How much would it cost for a 36-pound bag at Walmart? Okay, now, let's look up here and what 2 things does it give me in the first sentence? Okay, it said a 12-pound bag of oranges costs $6 at Walmart. So I want you to think for a second, what 2 things do you think we're comparing here? I knew you'd get it right. Okay, we're comparing pounds and we're comparing moolah. Okay, we're comparing pounds and money. All right, now, what did they give me? Well, they said 12 pounds for $6. Okay, so that's the first ratio or the first fraction they give me. because I have both numbers here. That's the given. Okay, let's see what they're asking. How much would it cost? So when I asked you cost, what do you think that means? It means money. Okay, so where's my x going to go? Very good. It's going to go here because it cost. We don't know how much it costs yet. So that is our unknown. That's why we're putting it with the unknown and with money. Okay, so 36 pounds. That's going to go with pounds, of course. Okay, so how much is it going to cost for 36 pounds? Well, that's what we're figuring out. Okay, so our first step is we got to set up a proportion. Okay, my proportion would be, let's put an equal sign here so we can kind of see it. My proportion is going to be 12 over 6 equals 36 over x. Now, you know there's two ways you can always get an answer to proportion, okay? I've been teaching you cross multiplication. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set up our formula, but I'm going to show you a quicker way, and you might have already seen it. So I'm going to show you a quicker way, but we're still going to set up our formula. Okay, so we have 12 times x, coefficient and variable always on the left side, right? So 12 times x equals 36 times 6. Okay, so 36 times 6, I'm going to go ahead and do that for you, or you can pause me and do it yourself. So 36 times 6 equals 216. So I'm going to kind of put it up here so you know how I got that answer. Okay, so 36 times 6 would equal 216. Okay, now of course we can, over here we could divide by 12 to get my answer, to isolate the variable. Okay, we could divide by 12 and we would get 18. Okay, but I want to show you a quicker way. Alright, I want to show you a quicker way. Could you do scale factor? Always. If you see an easier way than doing cross multiplication, can you do scale factor? Of course. So you could do 12 times 3 equals 36. So 6 times 3 would equal what? 18. What we got here. So sometimes, guys, you can use a scale factor if you spot it and you say, hey, I can get a scale factor and that's easy, go for it. You don't have to cross multiply. But sometimes on the first two, you couldn't do that because it wasn't an easy scale factor. Okay? So two ways you can always do these problems if you can. Okay, so x would equal $18. Okay? So I spent $18 for 36 pounds. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow. Awesome job. Make sure that you scroll down right now, answer the questions, and press submit. It's your responsibility. Otherwise, you won't get full credit or 100% for Miss Smith's class. All right, y'all have an awesome night.